بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. قال الإمام الطحاوي رحمه الله تعالى وتفسيره على ما أراده الله تعالى وعلمه وكل ما جاء في ذلك من الحديث الصحيح عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعن أصحابه رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين فهو كما قال ومعناه وتفسيره على ما أراد. Imam al-Tahawi rahmatullah alayhi says that tafsir of this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said into the Quran, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. We are going through this one of the fundamental Aqidah, belief, and it is one of the fundamental Aqidah of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah that in Jannat believers will be treated by ziyarat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by sighting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So meeting between believers and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take place. That is one of the fundamental Aqidah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us such that we live and die onto every Aqidah of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So regarding this Aqidah, Quran has said, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. Faces, they will be full of glow, full of shine, full of freshness, full of beauty, full of noor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ. Faces will be full of light. Why? إِلَىٰ رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. They will be sighted. They will be looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will be looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a result of this great favor and in'am and ni'mat. Their faces will become full of beauty. It will add into their beauty. It will add into their freshness. You know, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in one of the hadith sharif that نَظَّرَ اللَّهُ امْرَأً سَمِعَ مَقَالَتِي فَوَعَاهَا وَأَدَّاهَا كَمَا سَمِعَهَا. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave this dua that person who heard my statement, my hadith sharif, who heard my hadith sharif and he made some effort to remember it, to protect it, and then he made some effort to convey it to others. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Allah keep his face fresh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep him fresh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him that special freshness as a result of listening to the hadith sharif and as a result of remembering hadith sharif and as a result of conveying that hadith sharif to someone else. So there too, Nabi Sallallahu had used the same word, nadhara, nadhara. Wujuhun yawma idhin nadhira. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, their faces will be full of nadharat, full of freshness, full of beauty. Why? Ila rabbiha nazira. Because they will be looking at their Rabb. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this in'am and this ni'mat and this favor of Jannat. You know, it will be the goal of Jannat. It will be the essence of Jannat. It will be ultimate achievement of Jannat. Why we want Jannat? Because Jannat is a meeting place between Banda and Rabb. Jannat is being desired because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nowhere else we can have meeting between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only one place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Jannat. Why? Because Bainal Abdi wa Rabb, meeting will take place. Between Banda and between Rabb, meeting will take place. So Jannat is being desired. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be meeting us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Wujuhun yawma idhin nadhira. Faces at that day, they will be full of freshness. Why? Because they will be looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the morning also, we were talking about, you know, making ziyarat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and having ru'yat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, give us that high rank of sighting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There will be different levels, you know, there will be different ranks.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make us such that we strive to achieve highest rank. Our Hazrat used to say that, the highest rank of the people of belief and people of Iman, that is the rank of Siddiqeen. That is the rank of Siddiqeen. And sometimes he used to say that into the highest rank of awliya or Siddiqeen, if someone remains equal to one atom below, it is very, very great honor to have that rank of awliya or Siddiqeen. But he used to say that if someone remains one atom below, then he used to say that your life is in loss. So, try to make for the maximum. Try to go for the maximum. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us highest rank of awliya or Siddiqeen. And Siddiqeen, they will be into the neighborhood of Muhammad Rasulullah when they will be meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are different levels and different rank of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this one ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Wujuhun yawma idhin nadhira. Faces on that day, they will be having special freshness. Why? Because they will be citing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will be looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And its real explanation, we will come to know when we will be really experiencing that moment. We cannot describe it now. We cannot describe it now. Because see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is not in any boundary. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is free from any direction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, today Fajr time we had recited those ayats. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the nur of the samawat and the earth. He is the nur of the heavens and the earth. Mathal nurihi kamishkatin fiha misbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explain and give example of His nur. And in one of the ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, wa ashraqatil ardu binuri rabbiha. Whole earth became lightened by the nur of your Rabb. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kama yaliqu bishani. He is as He is. We cannot imagine, we cannot comprehend, we cannot discover Allah's totality, not even in Jannah. Not even in Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is beyond any limit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no limit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no sight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from the body. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from the direction. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable us to have His ziyarat. How it will take place? What is the exact meaning of this ayat? It is according to Allah's wish and Allah's will. That is what Imaam al-Tahawi rahmatullahi said. وَتَفْسِيرُهُ عَلَى مَا أَرَادَهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى وَعَلِمَهُ. The real explanation of this ayat, it is according to the wish of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is according to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we will come to that point, we will know. That will become an excitement. And that is why every time we will have meeting between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be, increase into excitement. It will be increase into our beauty. It will be increase into our freshness. It will be increase into our light and nur. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq that we look forward to that moment. وَكُلُّ مَا جَاءَ فِي ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْحَدِيثِ الصَّحِيحِ عَنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَعَنْ أَصْحَابِهِ رِضْوَانُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى عَلَيْهِمْ أَجْمَعِينَ فَهُوَ كَمَا قَالَ. And whatever came into Ahadith Sharifa about seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is according to what Nabi Sallallahu had said. Like Sahaba asked Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that we will be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave beautiful example. Nabi Sallallahu asked that, did you see that night which is the night of full moon? So Sahaba replied that yes, when moon is full, 14th night of every lunar month. At that night, the moon is full. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, when you look at that full moon, do you have to rush? Or do you have to leave someone behind? No. Everybody easily can see that full moon. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave an example of that full moon, that the way you see that full moon, that is how you will be making ziyarat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. in Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us that high rank. So whatever nusus came, whatever ahadith sharifa and ayat came, the way ayat spoke, we will have to bring iman on it. And what it means exactly, the day we will experience, that is when we will understand. That is when treasures of these ayat will be disclosed to us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us highest rank of His ziyarat and His mulaqat. Wa ma'nahu wa tafsiruhu ala ma arad. And meaning and its real explanation, it is according to irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is what we believe. Inshallah, we'll continue in this belief that we will have ru'yat between ourselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of the deviated sect, they reject this fundamental belief. And this is the sign of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. That what is the sign of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah? That they believe about meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about making ziyarat and ru'yat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us every aqidah of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. We live and die onto every aqidah. Today one of the great alim departed from this world in Pakistan, Mufti Zarwali Khan Sahab rahmatullah alayh. If we have to introduce him in one sentence, we can say that he was the lion of our time. He was the lion of our time. That kalimatu haqqin, whether people accept it, people like it or not, but he will always try to say haqq. He has departed, and as Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that ilm of Quran and sunnat of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be taken away. How? That Quran will not be taken away. Books of Hadith Sharifa, they will not be taken away. How it will be taken away? That ulama will be called back, and that's how ilm will depart. Yuqbadul ilmu biqabdil ulama. Ilm will depart by the demises of these ulama. They will depart from the world, and that's how ilm will depart. So much so, letters will remain, spirit will depart. The soul of the ilm will depart and letters will remain. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connect us with words also, and with the spirit of Quran and Sunnah. With every atom and every iota of the spirit and wording of Quran and Sunnah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us connected. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us alive and give us death onto every atom of Quran and Sunnah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.